we doing this now?
Yeah.
Okay. Just read this word 1 second. Just 1 second. Hi, I'm Ryan. I'm an author and illustrator, and this is my debut picture book. So we're about to open the box. We're about to open the box. I think this is the most significant moment of my life. Alright. This is a imagined conversation of my sisters and my dad and I in heaven, with the earth kind of appearing through the clouds as like a rock pool. Just love the ocean, and it connects deeply to everything I do. So I look at this wall, and it's incredibly rewarding to think that this entire book began with a single drawing that was part of my reflecting what my life had been. And this initial drawing of an elephant walking into the cloud gate. There's a photo of me and my dad when we were little. And to think it's been a gateway into the expansion of this whole world, and these are the early traces of the way I imagined the book and thought about it. So altogether the process of the book's development took about 1.5 years. It started with the writing of a manuscript that's had about 22 revisions. The manuscript was developed and designed in consultation with mental health community members, child psychologists, grief counsellors, suicide bereavement specialists, to make sure that the text was non-activating and treated the subject matter sensitively. These moments are 3 key, almost the heart of the book, because in dialogue with these mental health professionals, I thought, what are the 3 key questions that someone who has lost someone to suicide struggles with? Here we have, why did you leave me? One asked. Did I do anything wrong? Grace plead. How do I face the world without you? Hope wept. And they sort of sit at the core of what it means to wrestle with certain textures of grief that are unique to suicide. So, why did you leave me? Is about the abandonment that you can feel when someone ends their life. And did I do anything wrong speaks to the shame or the guilt that someone bereaved can find themselves inflicted by. I started exploring more about my life and my world in animal form. And I started to think about my family. I always connected with my dad being an elephant. He was born in Africa. Elephants are very majestic, but they're very tender and they're very sensitive. They're statuesque and they're giants and they're big, but they're very emotional, tender, sensitive beings who are very vulnerable and carry a lot of memory and carry a lot of trauma in the folds of their skin. And now I see elephants everywhere, and I see my dad everywhere. And that's a blessing. But it's heavy. Elephants are heavy. So are whales. The ocean is medicine. The salt, the surf, the sway, the immersion and the buoyancy, the presence. I live in St Kilda. The water is like a 10-minute walk that way. And I think just putting myself in a body of water every day, irrespective of how cold or warm it is, it's good for resilience. When you are in water, you're connected to every other thing that's a part of water, and so you feel encompassed in the waterways of life. And for me, painting with seawater has been very healing, and being in natural spaces.
what's so powerful about Ryan's work is that it's looking at human nature through the natural world and natural elements. And when I think about the natural elements of wind, water, fire and earth, I think we can learn a lot about our characters and see how the natural elements reflect who we are and how we exist in this world.
It's just surreal to think that a year and a half of, this was the initial storyboarding. Here we have the second draft of the book. And this was the first selection of roughs. And to consider that everything has been wrapped and assembled and exists in the fold of those pages is just so surreal. Advances of the book. And I was just thinking, it's so interesting that I've been working on this for a year and a half, been through 20 manuscripts with 10 reviewers, countless phone calls. My sisters, we weren't always living in the same place, so Zoom calls, Google calls, editors, art directors, storyboards, and to think that a year and a half of putting my life into something is packaged and presented in 44 pages enclosed by 2 covers is just so surreal. That so much of life can just be in the fold of one book. It's just so surreal. Okay, so we're about to open the box. We're about to open the box. Feel like I'm in a dream.
It's just really quite incredible that for a book, a 2D book, how much life force is in this, even just this picture of my dad, and it really just brings back memories of seeing him in his final moments, quite worn down. And just that, you can just see how much life he's lived through those wrinkles of his and the folds of his skin.
This was sort of like, for the first few weeks or months or even first few years, the darkness and the confusion, and just to think 7 years later where there's lightness, and just seeing how through this book it really reflects our journey over the last 7 years.
For so long I've been dreaming about the feelings I want someone to feel as they close the book. And how something that is of art and words can help those along their healing journey to feel seen and supported.
Mm.
And just how luminous it is and how alive it is. To see these images every day, I suppose they become part of the furniture. In a few weeks' time, they're going to be taken down from here and we'll be setting up the exhibition. And it's going to be sad having a blank wall. As challenging as the process of making the book was, towards the end of it, and in this room where I did the final paintings, and in the making of this book, I felt so much closer to my dad. I felt that he's come alive again. Under the stars, under the sun, under the moon. And I also felt closer to the collective energy of the universe. I felt that when I painted, there were angels with me. The elephant was in the room. I felt more connected to God. And I think this sense of the divinity sitting on my shoulders is something that was very unexpected, but has been the biggest gift of this. And the presence of my dad in my life has been